I'm Beth Elliott and I'm the Community Engagement Manager within Public Engagement at the University of Cambridge, and we have commissioned and funded this project. I was interested in the title of Untold Stories because the title itself is a bit of a provocation. Are these stories untold, or are they not being listened to? Through the Untold Stories project, I set out to create a space for communities to explore their knowledge and the stories that they held and what they wanted to share. One of our main goals is to spark new collaborations where community knowledge is not only valued, but it's celebrated, and where community voices are not just heard, they lead the conversations.
I'm James Norton and I work for NA Films. We've been commissioned to make a series of films for University of Cambridge Public Engagement for the Untold Stories project. Each one is different in its creative output, each one's different in the story it's telling, each one's different in the storytelling style, so the technique that's being used, and all those are kind of, everything about the films has been instigated or drawn from the actual people that we've worked with. And I think the power of storytelling is always underestimated in how useful it is to transfer and pass on knowledge. Humans use storytelling to navigate their world and to communicate. When people say the word knowledge, they always think of sort of knowledge that you have to learn somewhere like at university. But we always forget that we have an embedded knowledge that we can pass on and transfer, and storytelling is a very useful way to do that.
I'm Sasha Lee and I'm the Project Director of Creative Fenland. We work all over Fenland, which is 200 square miles, and we decided to hone in on Fenland Orchard Project, mainly because it was evident that this was almost like a shared learning space for lots of other communities, so we've reached far and wide. Just to explain a little bit more why we chose the orchard, as I said, it would seem to be a magnet for other community groups to come together and work on the land, essentially. So part of those groups was the Orchard Care Home, so we were working with an elderly population, unearthing their stories and their histories, as well as the Church of England Orchard School in Wisbech. So we had broad spectrum of ages, and it quickly became an intergenerational piece of work where the focus seemed to go towards the transference of knowledge. Some of the people that we spoke to at Fenland Orchard are in their 80s and mentioned several times to me that they left school at 15, and later on mentioned to me that they felt very insecure, that they didn't have an education. But yet they have got through life and have used their hands, and there's a huge amount of value in that, and I don't feel like we are presented with those ideas anymore. It's all got sort of very sort of IP, the way that we gain our knowledge on social media, it's very transactional and fleeting. And so in Fenland, there's a deep root of knowledge to do with the land. And again, I think there's value in everybody's experiences. And I think that's what this project has highlighted to me, is that any conversation with anyone, as you said, Beth, about just being human, is hugely valuable.
I'm Louise Tan. I work for Cambridge Ethnic Community Forum. We have partnered with CB Mentoring and Cambridge Ladies Group in this Untold Stories project. We wanted to offer the opportunity as widely as possible, so we reached out to two groups with very different demographics. CB Mentoring supports Black and minoritised ethnic children and young people in Cambridge, primarily aged around 7 to 18. They offer educational, social and cultural development opportunities, as well as connecting families with broader community networks. And Cambridge Ladies Group is primarily a social group offering opportunities for support and friendship. They're open to women of all ages, ethnicities and religions, and they have members from all different nationalities. In particular, they have many South Asian members. So we felt that we were covering different aspects of identity by working with these groups.
And I think for the groups that we worked with, it was more about self-knowledge, self-discovery and exploration through the sharing and understanding of self and family and history and identity and community and the connection that resulted in, connection to self and each other and, the wider community. So it's interesting that knowledge here isn't a transfer to others, it was more an exploration for self, I think.
My name's Zach Britton. I work for Romsey Mill. We involved some young people from who we support through our music studio in this project. We feel like a lot of the time the work in the music studios, a lot of young people use that as an opportunity to share their stories, their experience, their understanding of the world, and it felt like that was a really good opportunity where that kind of thing was already happening to use this opportunity to create a film to kind of harness some of that. And one of the particular lads in the group had a particular passion for film, so we felt like they would kind of snap this opportunity up and really kind of dive in and get stuck into it. What's really interesting about the work that we do in the music studio, and a lot of our work is based on relationship, and you get to know the young people and they feel comfortable and they share, but actually sometimes even more comes out when they're writing lyrics. There's a passion and a kind of intensity that perhaps they don't share in a conversation that then perhaps comes out in the studio, and it's been really interesting to see their perspective, their understanding, their knowledge of Cambridge come out in that way, and as you say, they're not potentially not young people that you would see as being knowledgeable or that the world would perceive as that, but actually they've got huge amounts of knowledge and understanding, and I think what's really interesting with the young people of their generation is that in many ways, because culture is moving so quickly, quicker than it seems like it ever has before, they are so misunderstood or not understood because everything changes, and so people can't keep up with it, and actually giving them opportunities to share that experience is really powerful.
I'm Nikki Shepherd from Abbey People, and we've been working with our coffee morning group who meet once a week at our community hub. So we chose our Friday coffee morning, and there's an element of trust there, so we felt like it would be a safe space for people to share what they wanted to share about their stories, because it gave people an opportunity to talk about some of the good things in their lives rather than just focusing maybe on the kind of trauma or deprivation that people have experienced. It's been a really interesting way for people to build deeper connections between each other, and I think it's been really freeing for some of the participants to have an opportunity to share their stories, and it's also been unexpectedly positive for some of the participants to hear each other's stories through the kind of editing sessions and things, and I think people have realised they're maybe not as alone as they thought they were. And I think the other thing that's been really interesting to explore is the knowledge that's in and of the place. It just brings a different thread to the way you see the world around you, and that's been really interesting to explore. Maybe the thought I'm having about this project as a whole and the collaborative nature of it is that we were all invited to be part of something. And it was really scary at first because we were like, what exactly are we doing? And we were all like, well, we don't really know yet. And that's a weird, scary place to start a project. But actually, it has been a really helpful journey personally, and also thinking about how we work as an organisation and how we collaborate with other people.
I think one of the biggest challenges in the starting was kind of creating an invitation that was open enough for the communities to really lead in this. And that's one of the, I think for me, one of the unexpected outcomes is that we sort of set out to co-create a project, but in actual fact there's been some real community-led work within this. I'm really excited about it.
And I think through this process, because it has been a process rather than a project, each of us will have changed in ways that are yet to be known, the outcome of which is yet to be known, and the same for the groups that we worked with individually. If there's no add-on project at the end, it doesn't mean that there's no outcome. It's just, maybe intangible and it's yet to play out. But I think it's changed us all, and it's opened my eyes in the way that we can work together. And that was scary in the beginning, that it was all open and we had, in a sense, so much power to make decisions. But it's, been kind of transformative in the way I look at things.
I think that is a perfect thing to say, and it's something that I always aspire to and admire in people. And it's something that's missed out a lot in education. Is it's always the end result that is the important thing, and not the process. But the process, the journey, is the bit that changes you. And you're right, and this is exactly about that.
I think that's that. I do think that with that sort of that open invite, that blank canvas, it's both a challenge and a strength of the project, which has enabled some of these unexpected outcomes.
I think it's important for me to acknowledge that this was a creative project, and I felt that the people who had been invited to take part saw their lives anew through a creative lens.